Thank you so much, Dom. Thank you so much. I was really looking forward to those opening remarks. I remember from last year. It's always interesting, intriguing, and thought-provoking. And thank you all for coming in this morning. Branding agencies do all they can to bring brands to life. They give them personas, voice, values, and style. But there's a limit to how much people connect to inanimate objects. We're all wired, of course, to connect to people. We're social creatures who are fascinated with each other, especially with those of higher social status, picture-perfect influences, and glamorous celebrities. We look up to them and want to be like them. And when they endorse a brand, we listen. Thanks to social media, we have more access than ever to those more than fabulous creatures. We follow them, check out what they are wearing, what they're eating, and where they are vacationing, etc., etc. But the $309.6 billion question is, what is real on social media, and what is a construct? How do you square online personas with real life? What is it doing for brands and businesses and industries when the people behind them increasingly are taking the place of what they are selling in front of the lens? The focus is on the people more than on the inanimate object or the brand. My esteemed guests are all here to help shed light on this matter. Allow me to introduce them. George Kern is the CEO of Breitling, South Africa. He's worked with brands such as Kraft.
No, worldwide.
Worldwide. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
I'm actually co-owner also.
I'm going to...
No worries. No worries. Go ahead.
Very good. I'm going to kill my researcher later on today. He's worked with brands such as Kraft, Tag Heuer, and Richemont. Good so far?
It's okay.
Thank you. He was notably, you'll like this one, he was notably the youngest CEO within Richemont at the age of 36, before being appointed the CEO of Breitling.
No, Breitling is not part of Richemont, but no worries. They know me.
I'm going to kill Dom.
They know me. They know me.
I'm going to kill Dom as soon as she comes out from her story shortly. Would you like to make your own introduction?
As I said, I think they know me, honestly.
Everybody knows you.
Yeah.
We all know you. Great. We also all know Anish Bhatt. Hello, Anish. Thank you for joining us as well. He's the founder and CEO of WatchAnish. Feel free to correct me anytime.
No, it's okay. So far, so good.
I'm feeling less and less confident as we go along.
It's great. No problem.
He has extensive background as a brand consultant in the fashion industry. He left his corporate career in 2012.
Yeah, around,
more or less, and founded WatchAnish, an ever-successful online luxury lifestyle publication and marketing agency based out of London.
Now out of Cyprus for tax reasons.
Based now out of Cyprus. Who's editing this recording? I need to know. I need to speak
It's good to keep you on your toes.
Lisa Rony is the founder and lead strategist of Avenue 52. Lisa developed a luxury portfolio of brands for publishing house ITP. Last year, she founded Avenue 52 to help luxury brands of the future grow globally with the right partnerships. So I would like to start, to make it up to George. I'm going to have to start with you. George, to make it up, I'm going to help spread the fantastic news. Within the last 2 weeks, you sold 25% of the company for an enterprise valuation of some $2.8 billion. You have gone in the last few years through a transformation of the brand. Tell me how you did that.
Well, I'm trying to be very short. You cannot summarize in 4 years what we have done in 4 years in such a short time. But to make a long story short, the brand had a very niche positioning in aviation, was very bold, big pilot's watches. And we, in a way, came back to what Breitling was since over 100 years, 3 segments, so we enlarged our targeted market. Airline C. We totally reviewed our design language under the umbrella of modern retro. I think we designed some of the most beautiful products in the market. And at the end of the day, whatever we can discuss today about digital marketing or whatever, a successful brand is a successful brand if you have proper products and a proper strategy to build your brand. That's it. And the digital media or even e-commerce is just a little element of the whole ecosystem, if you want. So therefore, we were also working on a distribution. We entered new segments like the female segment. We entered in the Chinese market, et cetera, et cetera. So we reviewed the company on a 360 level.
How much did this change happen online versus offline?
So people sometimes mix or believe that digital transformation means e-com. E-com is a very small part of the digital transformation. So digital transformation is obviously digital media and all the relevant services you might give on a digital level. So Breitling was the first company introducing the blockchain, for instance, for traceability and authenticity, but also to get transparency on the supply chain. We have new offerings on our site. But at the end of the day, we are multi-channel. So we sell online, offline in our own boutiques and with our retailers. But what is true, though, today, the 70% of the decision-making is made online. But if you look at the watch industry, the e-com part of the sales, I would say, on average, is between 10 and 15%. And there are studies out there confirming that consumers, in particular young consumers, still want the physical experience, boutiques, the 360 experience, diving into a brand in order then to make up their mind. So yes, there has been, in the COVID situation, a growth in I would say, the watch market's online sales, but it's not dominant, and I don't think it will be dominant.
Okay, aside from sales, I would like to know from you about the persona and how much building this new persona, because you said you moved away from the macho pilot image, John Travolta, and I don't know what, to a softer, more inclusive.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, the decision-making today, we know that from study, from the consumers made 70% through digital media. So they're going on your Instagram account, Facebook, the blogs, YouTube, what have you. So consumers are extremely well informed when they buy a product. By the way, we also invest from our media budget 70% in social media. So it's our majority. It's a big majority of our investments. And the beauty of social media is that you can go large, but you can be extremely targeted. You can be three-dimensional. So it's much easier to penetrate a market, especially now for us in China, for instance, than in the old days where you had weekly magazines or daily newspapers, etc. So you can dramatically increase the speed of awareness and knowledge of what you're doing.
Thank you. Anish, I'm very glad that you came in your flamboyant orange
Sorry, I'm
suit.
late, yeah.
No, that's okay. The orange suit made up for it, and I'm so glad that I didn't wear my orange suit. I wanted to notice what you're wearing when you first came in, because I was wondering how much of what we see online carries through offline, how much of the persona, Anish's persona that goes online in those fabulous Instagram photos is actually
I think
real.
for us, for our brand, it's about authenticity, and we try to be in a position where we talk about things that we like and we dress in the way we think is cool for whatever occasion. And for us, the authenticity is really the key factor in what we do. And that's where our audience, I think, aligns with us, because they trust us because of that. So there's not really such a big differential between online and offline for us.
So, but what is your brand? Because from what I could see on your online platforms, you represent a lifestyle more than you represent any one particular brand.
So for us, it's kind of twofold. One sector is, I guess, WatchAnish in terms of, like you say, lifestyle or influencer or whatever it is. And then secondary is our main business, is what we do for a lot of luxury brands in and out of the watch market as well. So other luxury brands in other segments, and in terms of strategy and content creation and brand positioning and 360 digital consultancy and solutions for these brands. But that's without my face to it. My face to it is what WatchAnish does as a public, I guess, persona, like you say.
How much does Anish add to WatchAnish?
Less and less now. Yeah, I mean, in the beginning it was just me when I started, from a passion, of course, like we all have, a passion for watchmaking and for all the things that it encompasses. And then as it grew into a business and we turned from just me into a team of nearly 30 people, you know, and so it's, I mean, on the surface it looks like it's me or Anish as an influencer, but really there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we don't show.
Okay.
So it kind of works in two ways.
So here's what got me wondering. So if we were to remove Anish from your Instagram account and miraculously transplant Cyba on there, would I be
very welcome.
Thank you. I'll take you up on that.
Sure.
But will I be able to do the same for the brands that you are representing or promoting? I mean,
on the back end side, yes, because there's no face to what we do in the main core of our business. From the front end and from WatchAnish as a face, no, because it's very intrinsically linked to me as a person, and we try a little bit to distance this. But I mean, I started it, you know, as myself, so it's difficult to make that transition. I mean, slowly we're trying to do that, but I mean, WatchAnish is very closely linked to me as an individual, and that's been the case and continues to be the case at the moment. So, but we can try.
We can try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me a day.
No problem.
I'll take over your account
today. Now.
No, no, not today. Lisa, how much? The persona of a brand and the personality behind that brand, how much do they need to match? What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Anish style or Anish Instagram, style in real life or Anish Instagram persona?
So I think that they're just one reality. I don't think there's an online reality and an offline reality. I think they are one reality. I think the digital world is just another platform to storytell and another platform to trade and sell. I think what's important is the role that the person plays when it's a heritage brand and it's been around for 100 years, because even if you look back at the world of magazines, many magazine brands wouldn't have established 100 years ago without their founding editor-in-chiefs. But today, those brands will always survive as the editor-in-chiefs come and go. But I think when you look at a digitally native brand like Anish, the importance of the person is probably a lot more present in its kind of first 10, 20 years of establishing versus a brand that's been around for 100 years. I also think that we have to think about browsing personalities. So I think personalities go beyond just the brand. I think customers, consumers, viewers, readers, they're in different modes when they're watching. So if they are browsing through a mall and going into a retail environment versus reading a magazine versus watching a film versus sitting on their social media, they are in different mindsets. You're targeting the same demographic, but their personalities within themselves change. And so you have to adapt to those browsing mindsets as well.
George's account, which has his name at the top, on that Instagram account, we barely see George. We see him from time to time. We see the brand that he is endorsing, the product that he is promoting. Again, to what extent how much value is George adding to the brand through his account?
I think that a brand like Breitling has two roles to play. I think there's a consumer-facing role. that's addressed through the brand's main account, through its brand personalities, ambassadors, and there's a B2B role, and there's a huge B2B role for Breitling, and I think George's personal account is probably 80% focused on that rather than the kind of end customer. I'd love to hear George's thoughts on that comment.
Yes.
Actually, I have no idea, to be honest. I think the difference is that our official account is very corporate.
Yes.
And you get engagement because people know that I write my posts, I make my mistakes, I have to correct, and people know that I answer. For me, this platform is a huge sounding board. Mm-hmm. I get lots of information. By the way, we created an advisory board, and a couple of the members interacting with me through social media are in this advisory board now since a couple of years. And I think in terms of engagement, I'm the second best influencer for Breitling. At least what my marketing team is telling me. So I don't have the coverage, but in terms of engagement is huge.
Yes.
Because people know that it's a CEO. I don't post always the same stuff as a corporate thing. I do my own thing. Sometimes, by the way, they get crazy, my digital team. But it's very intuitive. You learn, by the way, when you know what works.
Do you take over the account and you just see a beautiful sunset and post a picture of that?
No, because people know, that I'm CEO of Breitling, so that they expect watches. But I think on my account, they expect more personal stuff. So, for instance, when I'm visiting boutiques or when I'm visiting Dubai or that exhibition, they want to know and they engage. And so it's not only products. And they react, obviously. Today, you have in the press a huge personalization. So often we try to put forward. You don't talk about the Democrats or the Republicans. You talk about Biden or Trump. You talk about Tom Ford. You talk about you personalize brands a lot. Everything in the world is personalized, and much less is about what is the political program or what is the content of the brand. People want faces, and consumers want faces. I guess they respond to a need.
An influencer once told me that to get engagement from your followers, you need to engage them in your personal life as well as whatever it is that you are focused on, or the business of that particular account. She mentioned 80-20. 80% about personal life and 20% about what you're doing. But I don't see that on your account, Anish. What do you think?
I think there's not really a formula, really, but I think from our point of view, I go back to just being authentic about what you like, about what you're talking about, and talking in a voice that people understand. Because normally what you see is influencers talking about whatever it is, a day of shopping or a holiday in a certain type of language. And then when it comes to an advert, the language completely changes and you can read it straight away. So for us, it's always about being authentic and working in a way that we think is going to translate the best to the audience. It's working with brands that we think are interesting to us, that we think is going to be a value add to the audience. And we turn down probably 65-70% of brand deals that we get offered because we don't think it's a right fit for the audience. And for us, that's the most important thing. It's not about commercializing everything, but it's about working in the right way with the right brands that align with what we stand for and what we believe in. And when it comes to that, then your language is much more authentic, is much easier, and it integrates a lot better with everything else that you're doing.
When I look at your account, I don't get the feeling that it's forcing anything. There's no placement. I don't feel there's placement where obviously there is. But one post is the one with the fish slippers.
Yeah.
And I looked at the fish slippers first, and I was interested in the fish slippers. And and then I went into the close-up, and they realized there was a watch there as well. Talk to me about the authenticity in that.
I mean, there's no real strategy behind stuff like that. I bought these slippers. They were like 10 euros or 15 euros on Amazon, you know? And I thought they're so outrageous and so stupid that it's kind of funny. And I kind of made it a thing somehow. I don't know, I was talking with some friends and with the people that work with us and whatever, and I said, you know what, I want to make this like the Loro Piana of slippers. They're so ugly that I want to make everyone know about these shoes. I want to make it that everyone that has money wants to buy these shoes.
How many of you are looking up?
Which brand is that so that we don't buy it?
Sorry?
Which brand is that so that we don't buy it?
No, it's from Amazon. They're slippers, and they're literally like fish. Okay. So you put your foot in, the fish is like here. It's disgusting. It's horrible. The shoes, but it's funny. You know, I wear it on a jet.
Fun.
I wear it in like outrageous locations. And for me, it was not like a strategic thing, but it's something that's funny. You know.
Yeah.
And I feel like stuff like this and humor and being a little bit off track is what helps you to stay relevant to people. Because if you become too advertise based, I feel like people zone out very quickly, you know? You can't underestimate the intelligence of your audience. This is very key in anything. Your audience is very in tune to what you're doing. They understand when it's an advert, when it's not. So you can't take that for granted, you know, and think they're going to be stupid and not see something. And this for us is really the key in whatever content or whatever strategy that we employ into anything.
George, I see you nodding. To what extent do you can you avoid this commercialization? Because, I mean, all your posts are, of course, about watches from Breitling, and that is the purpose. But how do you make sure they're authentic, all of them?
I agree with Anish. People are not stupid. They go on the account because they are watch aficionados, they want to get the information. But then it's a question of tonality, right? How do you present your product? And how do you describe it? And if it's too marketing, too overdone, people will not believe it. So sometimes I put my personal remarks, if I like this style or that color or this one or what have you, or to make it a kind of advising or the advice of the CEO towards the product range without being too commercial. But people who are going on that side, they know, or on my account, they know who I am and what they're reading. Then they want to have another touch, which has to be complementary to the hardcore information you might have from the corporate account.
So it's a balance between the two. Lisa, is there whose responsibility is it to ensure that what's coming across from the online account is what the customer wants? So I'm wearing a Breitling watch, and I look at the account, and I want it to represent me. I'm looking at Anish's account, and I'm finding $10 Amazon plastic fish slippers. To what extent do I want this account to represent me as a customer?
I think you always
Try again. Try again. Hello? Lisa's mic is not working. Can we try again, please?
1, 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bribed them.
So I think that there's a really big role that brands need to think about when communicating on their online account, which is, what am I saying to my existing customer, and what am I saying to my target customer, who is an aspirational customer, who is a customer of one of my competitors? I think there's always got to be that thought process when creating content, when developing strategies, which is that how do I make this appeal to both? Because there will be information that is completely new and educational to some of the potential target clients, and there'll be kind of content that's extremely familiar to an existing client. I think one of the reasons that George is probably the second most impactful ambassador or kind of personality against Breitling is because of the authenticity that comes with that. I think it's safe to say that probably, and maybe more so in other industries, not just the watch industry, but definitely 70 to 80% of brand endorsements, personalities, ambassadorships just aren't authentic. They're not genuine, they're not real customers, they don't really understand the brand. And I always think that if you are selecting a brand ambassador or a personality to storytell on behalf of you, it's not just about them communicating your vision or your mission or taking on board your personality, but actually, do they believe in the same vision? Do they share the same mission? Do they actually have that same tone of voice? And if they don't, and you try and force it upon them, you see it. 80% of it's so obvious when something is a forced and essentially kind of paid collaboration. And I think that more and more brands are starting to be more selective about who they work with, and actually sometimes online personalities with smaller followers generate much bigger results.
Anish, because Lisa mentioned competition, you represent different brands who may or may not necessarily be in competition, but if you are rendered valuable for a brand, are you automatically value less for a competitive brand?
No, I mean, in our early days, we kind of had this discussion with a number of brands, and our position was that if we represent one brand, it's not good really for anyone, because people look at us and they look at what we say for our taste, let's say. And if we only talk about one brand, then it's easy to see that it's not about our opinion, it's about a paid opinion. And it's not value add for the brand, and it's not value add for us to do that. You know, we need to be a voice that shows things that are cool, that are interesting, that people haven't seen, and in a different way. And it's very detrimental to talk only about one watch. If we take the watch category, for example, to talk only about one single watch brand as and to talk about them only, because people will know, you know, why are you only talking about XYZ brand, you know? They were used to us talking about everything, you know, expensive, not expensive, new, independent, group, whatever it is. So then if all of a sudden we change and we start talking only about one brand, then people will very, very quickly tune out. And it goes back to what I'm saying about not underestimating the intelligence of your audience, you know, because they will very quickly understand that. And for us, our key leverage point is the audience that we have. And the reason that we have that is because we don't do that. You know, we don't talk only about one brand. And I think, and over the years, the brands understand that, you know, it's not beneficial for them. If we, you know, you're wearing a Panerai, if we only talked about Panerai for the next 3 months, it's not beneficial to them, because people will see that it's advertising and it's whatever, and they don't want advertising. They get that already. They want an opinion. They want experience. They want an emotional type of language that they can understand and connect with. They don't want the adverts, because they get that already.
Sure. I'm going to come back to you on this opinion. I just want to say that very shortly, I'll give you the opportunity to ask questions to the panelists. We'll have 15 minutes for questions from the audience, so please do prepare them and do be ready to post them. Also, on your chairs, you have forms that you can write anonymous questions for the last session of the forum to any of the speakers during the forum. So please also use that. The pens, Dom very smartly gave you paper but not pen. The pens are outside, so you can grab the pens and write your questions as you leave the sessions. So opinion, to what extent, because again, I go back to my observation of you're promoting lifestyle and so on.
Sure.
To what extent does it frustrate the brands that you are representing, or the watch that you are promoting in one particular post, when it is more about the lifestyle and the positioning for a particular audience than it is about the amazing technicality of the watch?
Sure. So our position has always been, from the beginning, when I started this, the idea was not to compete with the watch forums at that time, like let's say, mid to late 2000s. This is where I got all my knowledge and information from. My goal, let's say, when I started was to bring in people of my age at that time. I was like late 20s. But what I found is that talking about fine watchmaking, I was talking to people that were at least double my age or more. And what I wanted was people that were my age and in my social demographic or so on to love watches the way that I did. You know, it's like when you go to a nice restaurant, you know, and you will have a great meal and the service is great, and you will tell your friends, you know, you should go here. If you're in this city, you must go here because it's amazing, and you want them to share that experience. So for me, with watches, it was like that. I wanted people my age to understand why I loved it, and I wanted them to love it. I didn't want to compete with the forums or the very technical watch publications, which are amazing and, you know, like very, very necessary. You know, it's a key point in this industry to have publications like that. But for us, we wanted not the 5% of watch buyers that know everything about watches. We wanted the 95% of people that don't know about watches to fall in love with it. And for that, we had to talk a different language to them. Because, you know, everyone in this room understands when you talk about watches, you talk in reference numbers and jargon that no one understands, you know? Like, if you're talking with another person that's collecting watches, you talk a language that anyone outside would not understand at all. You know, calibers and this reference and this and this and this and so on, so on. So we wanted to talk in a language that people could understand and bring them in to fall in love with it the way that we did.
George, do you find that the way that the persona that you give your watches online needs to be different from the way you set up your shops and the offline experience? And how much do they borrow from each other?
No, of course, it has to be coherent. There's nothing worse than having a non-coherent brand and a non-coherent appearance. But again, I mean, all these digital tools are just a translator. I can only repeat myself, and I might be boring. If your product is crap and the image of your brand is crap, whatever you do online will also be crap. You know, crap input, crap output. Very simple. So fix your brand, fix your design, and then your boutiques, you know, is a translator. Your wholesale is a translator. Your marketing, activation, online or offline is a translator. And then but this is technique. The art is the creation of a brand. The talent is the design of a watch. And people forget that. I mean, Louis Vuitton is not big because they have a good logistics center. They're good because they have amazing products. I mean, that's it. Rolex is not where they are because they have a good e-com. They don't have an e-com, right? I mean, so let's work on what is really essential and then use the tools, be it online or offline, to spread the message. And of course, you have to be coherent. Of course, everything has to be coherent. The image, the language, the content. Then you do it in different ways. In a boutique, you're more, it's more fixed image, whilst in a, you know, online you have moving images, etc. But at the end of the day, it has to be super coherent, especially in a luxury brand, especially in a relatively small brand if you compare it to Procter & Gamble brands or Nestle brands, etc. I mean, these are very small brands in comparison to the big national brand, international brands.
Do you have personalities, do you have humans now who are the face of Breitling, who represent their attributes are the same attributes that you assign to the brand?
Yeah, sure, we have what we call our squads, which obviously comes from aviation. So we have different squads. We have aviation squad, we have a surfer squad. But to start with, we decided not to be in golf or in Formula One or in tennis, as all the others. We decided that we wanted to have an inclusive, we represent the neo-luxury, inclusive luxury, casual luxury, and sustainable luxury. So we did it differently. So that was a starting point. And once you decided that, then you define the personas. You cannot just believe that, okay, I'm going to take a celebrity, I'm going to be successful. Of course not. It has to fit. And yes, we have huge celebrities like Brad Pitt, etc., but they fit in a very specific program. Every squad represents a product and a storyline, and otherwise it doesn't work. Sometimes we have squads like now with this pilot's watch we launch, where we don't have personas but planes. Curtis Warhawk, Mosquito. So we have brand or plane names which we use in our squads, which are also representing a brand.
I saw a post with Charlize Theron and Misty. Are they brand ambassadors as well?
Yeah. So
is this a new direction?
No, it's not. No. Since 4 years, we have these squads. As I said, Misty Copeland, who is prima ballerina in New York, and Charlize Theron are part of our Spotlight squad, so they represent the female. We use them for the female watchers. Yeah. But Charlize is also part with Adam Driver and Brad Pitt of our cinema squad, which we use a lot in China. So it really, everything is allocated, or the squads are allocated to a specific product. And we wanted to have a squad because we believe that a team is stronger than individuals. Graphically, it makes it different, you know. It's very different from individuals. And we can tell a 360 story with a male, a female, a younger, and older. So it's a very flexible campaign.
Lisa, how much easier is it for you to align a brand with an existing human, a celebrity? How do you match the attributes again?
I think it depends on. Is my mic working?
Yes.
I think it depends on what stage that brand is. You know, is it at a launch stage? Is it within its kind of infancy? Is it 10 years old or is it 100 years old? I think the more established, as I said earlier on, the brand has become in creating its own identity, the harder it becomes to match a personality. And I think often brands that are very well established are bringing in personalities so that they appeal to additional verticals in terms of audiences. You know, is it about reach or is it actually about the story that they're telling? I think you've got to find a personality that, as we said earlier, is authentic, that not just can translate the vision and the mission, but actually lives and breathes it themselves. I think some really interesting things have happened globally in the last 10 years in terms of celebrity endorsement. And, you know, 15, 20 years ago, the only time that celebrities would actually endorse brands is when they were being paid millions of dollars. And I think today you have celebrities actually investing their own money into businesses and taking equity and actually becoming kind of a smart and strategic kind of ambassador where they're using it because they really, really believe in it. They're already a product. And this has happened in different verticals, not just the watch industry. I'm yet to see that in the watch industry, but I'm sure it'll happen soon. I think that it needs to become a lot more sophisticated, the way that these personalities are chosen and selected. But once they are chosen and selected, what are they actually doing? So how often would you want them to sit on a stage and talk on behalf of your brand versus just be photographed and look fabulous in a photo, or give them a script on what to say versus let them speak themselves?
Final question to Anish, and then I'm coming to the audience for some questions. I need to remember now what that was. Final question. Anish, can you do what you do for watches for any other luxury product?
I mean, we do a lot outside the watch industry, you know, with luxury hospitality, private banking, I mean, a number of sectors. In the end, the audience is, let's say, has the anchor of appreciating and collecting, fine watchmaking and understanding what that is. But that same audience or same client is also buying art or real estate or yachts or private aviation and stuff like this. So for us, it's an easy plug-in, and the direction for the business was not let's work with every watch brand in terms of growth. Mm-hmm. You know, how do we grow the business? It's either you take on more watch brands, and some of them are not ones that maybe are not for your taste or whatever that is, or you work in other categories. And for us, the direction was to work in other categories, to plug in interesting products or services or whatever that is that fit in with that audience.
Any questions? Yes, please. Let's get you a mic.
Anish, it's a great honor. As you know, the world is going gaga over NFTs. What are your views on NFTs, and are you planning to have something of your own NFTs of the WatchAnish?
Own NFT, I don't think yet. I think I need to understand a little bit more how to make something that has a real utility to it. But I think, if we're talking about the watch industry, I think there's a real position for it there, to replace ownership certificates and warranty cards and stuff like this, to really track the history of a watch from its first purchase through every residual sale that goes on. If you look at a charity auction like Only Watch that happened a month ago, imagine you attach something to that where every time Only Watch piece is sold on, that a portion of the money that it trades for later on, 10% goes back to Only Watch every time that it's sold. There's a real utility for blockchain, let's say, not NFT, but blockchain within the watch industry, because I've been collecting watches for 20-something years, I've seen everything, fake boxes, fake certificates, this, that, whatever. So there's really a good position to have something that is you're unable to fake, and to have a history of what you're buying, a concise history of what you bought. So from a collector point of view, I think there's really a position for NFT or blockchain within the watch industry. For me personally, I don't think anyone wants to buy a digital picture of me. I don't think that's interesting for anyone. But if there's a cool utility that we can think of, then yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Any other questions? Anyone else? Yes, please.
I'll ask a question after she's done.
You go first.
Okay.
This question is for Mr. George. I'll move away a little bit from the digital and the online aspect. And as Cyba mentioned, congrats on the recent acquisition. But how does it align with the existing Breitling strategy? The reason I'm asking is that a lot of times when private equity firms or investors come in, if I may use the word, they milk the company and they look for return on investment, and that sometimes affects the brand's strategy focus negatively, and at the end, the customer. What was the thought process, and how did you align, both together?
Well, I cannot tell you all the secrets, but I'm giving you one or two indications. So first of all, you have a couple of amazing, professionally well-managed PE companies out there, and CVC is one of them. They're brilliant, and my learning curve has been like this since I'm part of that family. Number two, it's true, they had actually another plan in mind. They had a more cost-cutting plan in mind. And when we talked, I said, you don't need me for cost-cutting. You can take anybody from McKinsey, and he will do it. If you want me, we will have a growth story. And then I explained to them what I would do in terms of growing the company. And then they said, okay, and here we are. And we are totally aligned. The beauty with private equity, and you saw during the COVID crisis how independent companies were more agile, quicker to react, more innovative. The beauty is that they look at the figures, but they hire management and they pay them right because they know what they're doing. You don't have any committee or somebody who believes that he or she knows better than you. They know what they have to do, and they let professional management do their work. And we're totally aligned because we're all investors in the company, in particular with the system they have at CVC. And this is why we could quickly align on the new strategy and I would say take many calculated risks as we took over the last 4 years, because we did a 360 and 180-degree change in our strategy. So it's major. We change everything, but in a frame of what the DNA represents at Breitling. It's why it worked. So we didn't choose to do crazy stuff, which was totally out of the DNA. And I think that we are more truthful to the brand than we have ever been in the last 20, 30, 40 years.
All the best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, because you mentioned that you're the second biggest influencer for Breitling. You do a lot of product, but on your website you also do, for instance, flying last week in Dallas with the planes, and you had the beautiful videos, and then Charlize at the New York opening, which I was with you on.
I hope you liked it.
It was fabulous. But anyway, it was exactly what Breitling is these days. I'm curious, how much of your following comes from these videos where you're immersing people in Breitling versus the product?
I don't think it's essential, because when you create a brand, is like a planet, and everything you do in terms of activations, boutiques, online, etc., are satellites fueling, if you want, that planet. In terms of the satellite digital communication and my own communication, people are coming to have my personal recommendation. You have this with cars, you have designer's choice. They say, okay, this outdoor painting with this interior and this wood, that's a designer's choice. So in a way, they come to have the CEO's choice. And the rest is just illustration. So it's fun. I think I'll have more engagement when they see me with my team, when I visit boutiques. Not the event with Charlize Theron, but being with the team in New York is more impactful for them and more authentic and more sympathetic than a glamorous event, if you want, which is very much, at least for the hardcore guys following me, and they're following me, and I agree with you, nobody's interested in movement and all this stuff at the end of the day. I mean, the world changed over the last 25 years, and many people still don't get it. Today, you buy a brand, then you buy a design, and then you buy a movement, which is totally different from 20 or 25 years ago. People are buying an emotion. People are buying a lifestyle much more than anything else. The quality and the movement is a given, is a conditio sine qua non. When you buy a Hermes bag, you're not asking for the quality of the leather. No, you're buying it. It's the same thing for a watch. At that level, you know that the quality is there. You know that, whatever. And I'm not even a watchmaker. I couldn't even explain it. So that's not the point. People come for the recommendation, for the authenticity, for the product, and then for a little bit of behind the scene, but not personal stuff. I think the only personal stuff I post on my account is a little bit of cycling and my dog, and that's it. Charlie. Everybody loves Charlie. I love him too.
Lisa, you wanted to say something here?
Yeah, I think that was just a very valid point. What's happening amongst customers and consumers is, as they're getting to that point and that milestone in their lives, whether they're in their 20s, early 30s, 40s, where they can afford to buy a serious watch, when they can afford to start becoming a collector, is that the purchasing of luxury products and services is not really so much about that product and service, but rather what personality it gives them. So individuals are trying to create their own identity, their own brand personality, their own image through their purchases. where they holiday, what car they drive, what handbag they carry, what watch they wear on their wrist. And so those purchasing decisions aren't just limited to the physical product, but rather what's the purpose and impact of that particular brand? What journey is it going to take me on? What experience is it going to give me? Because they start to shape their own identities as a result of these purposes. And I think majority of the storytelling that's going to be happening online is actually showcasing that experience, that purpose, that impact, rather than the product itself, which is what you get when you go into a physical store.
One more question here in the middle of the room.
Now, this is mostly towards Anish, but actually it'd be interesting to get feedback from everyone on. Now, earlier, George, you talked about how brands need to look at product first when it comes to the development of the brand. And Lisa, you spoke to the need for authenticity with brand ambassadors at a celebrity level. But now, Anish, the way you work, it's very, like you said, you wanted to bring things down to a much lower level and a very, let's call it surface level, not deep rooted in technicality and whatnot. Yeah. With that comes a layer of hype. And how do you manage that hype, and how do you manage that presentation of a brand within that hype in a way that you're creating something that's going to engage over the long term, rather than that flash moment of, here, look at this grandiose one and done, and off we go?
I think at the moment it's interesting, like where we are in the watch market today. It's a period of crazy hyperinflation. If you look at a lot of brands, pieces that are retailing for 30,000, selling in the market for 200, 250,000. A lot of it doesn't make any sense. But the demand is really outgrown the supply by an exponential level. And I think part of that, I mean, hype is a very good word, because that's a lot of what it is, Like, the consumer now is different to the consumer 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it was about the brand story and the history and, the Navitimer and what it represented, and the guy buying it is working in a bank, but he wants to feel like a pilot. And that's what it did, You wore this watch and you had an emotion to it, and that's why you bought it. And what's happened now with the introduction of social media is that you no longer have to buy reference books from Japan or wherever. You have everything at your fingertips. You have all the information. So people are very quick to understand what this market is now. And you have so many new buyers in this market that, I mean, for me, I find it a little bit sad that a lot of buyers now are not buying for the artistry of the watch. They're buying for the residual value of this asset. You buy a Nautilus for 30,000 and the value is 150,000, or a Rolex for whatever amount, and it's 3-4 times the price in the residual market. And social media is a big reason for that, because the information is thrown at everyone now. You don't need to search for it, because it's in front of you and very easy to understand. So, I mean, I don't think we ourselves can create hype around one thing, but I think what we do is we understand our taste and trust that if we think something is cool, then maybe it's cool. Not always, like my fish slippers, but 9 times out of 10, if we think something is cool, there might be something to it. So then that's what we tend to convey in that way. And I think that's why people continue to look at us, not as a sort. I don't like the term influencer. I don't think we influence anyone. I don't think because we post something that someone's going to say, oh, WatchAnish posted it, so I'm going to go buy it. What it does is it creates an interest, and then they will go and research themselves. Maybe they'll ask questions to us, or they'll ask questions to someone else that they trust. Or maybe they'll go to a boutique, or maybe they'll talk to the brand. But it creates that spark of interest, and that's what our position is.
Super. Yes, please. In the meantime, I'll just ask a very quick question. I'm originally Lebanese, and last year the financial system collapsed and the currency lost a lot of its value, and people had their money locked in banks and they couldn't draw them except to write a check. And a lot of people started going out and, as a store of value, buying Rolexes.
Yeah.
That's one of the commodities that they could buy easily and ensure that
But I mean,
they
Rolex
store value in it.
is probably one of the most liquid luxury brands in the world. You could be run out of gas in the middle of Rwanda or Zimbabwe, and you can go and give someone your Rolex, and they will understand what that is.
Yeah.
But
With a certificate of authenticity.
I mean, yeah, but Rolex have been marketing the way that luxury brands are marketing now. Rolex have been doing that for 70 years.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. Go ahead. The question is? Yeah.
Yes. Hi. Good morning to all. What a coincidence. I'm Lebanese too. So nice to meet you here.
Nice to meeting you too.
Mr. Kern, can you imagine Charlize or Brad wearing Anish slippers, for instance, the fish slippers?
No.
Yeah, of course not. But on a serious note, I wanted to tell you and maybe bring up, for me, it's an important point. We were talking about ambassadors for the brand. As much as celebrities, of course, they have their fan base and everything, I personally think that your #1 ambassador is your client. And what do you think about watch brands, maybe you guys or anybody else? Start endorsing collectors, for instance. I don't like to label people as collector, but label true watch lovers, people who really love it. Like when you wear the brand and you are a collector, I mean, this is the most powerful tool. I think it's bigger than any celebrity. I don't know, what's your take? Anish or Lisa also can probably have a point.
No, I mean, first of all, if you look at our set of celebrities or squads, you will have squads where you don't know who this person is. If I take my Explorer squad with Bertrand Piccard, with Inge Solheim and David Rothschild, most of the people don't know these people. The point for us is that once you Google them, you find out these are the master in their fields. Same thing for our surfers. Okay, we have Kelly Slater, probably everybody knows him, but we have Sadie Fitzgibbons, but she's the best female surfer on the planet. Same thing for our pilots squad. We have an astronaut, we have a drone pilot, and we have an F-18 women, the kind of Top Gun Tom Cruise of the Spanish Air Force. So we don't have only celebrities, we just have sometimes celebrities, but in most of the cases, the best people in their field representing that specific line. But this, to answer your point, of course, I mean, the first thing I'm checking when we launch a product are all the blogs and what people are saying or commenting. Of course, the comments on my Instagram are always more positive than on totally neutral platforms. And of course, if you can engage the community, and trust me, it was difficult for Breitling 4 years ago when we started to launch new products, new campaigns, etc. Everybody was criticizing us everywhere. And today, when you read the comments, 95% are positive. And you always have the purists of whatever, the wings or what have you. But at the end of the day, you need to get more customers, more lovers than you lose in a transformation process. A transformation process is not from black to white. You go through a gray phase, but at the end of the day, you have to score more goals than you take, right? You can score 2 goals, great. If you take 4, it's bad. You can score 2 goals. If you get 0 goals, you win. So just make more goals than that you take in a transformation process. And I think, our success shows, and this is what I'm saying also to criticisms. Sometimes we say it's blah, 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 and here's not good, and you lose. I said, listen, you have an individual opinion. The only true response is the response of the consumer. And apparently, these consumers are buying us like hell. So we must be right.
I think to your point, the customer absolutely is your number one. But what I would love to see is how brands use the celebrities and the ambassadors in a slightly different way. And I think in the next kind of 5 to 10 years, we will see a shift where brands start to use those ambassadors to talk about their purpose and their impact, and leave the storytelling of the actual product to the experts, the boutique managers, the customers themselves.
But surely it's a big risk once you've aligned a product with a person. The risk is of course in the separation. What happens when the separation happens? I don't know if any of you have any thoughts on that.
I think it's more. It's not so much aligning a product with a person, but it's a product with a type. Let's say, you know, like Breitling has Brad Pitt, for example. Let's say.
Yeah.
So it's of course part of that message is Brad Pitt wears Breitling, but the main part of that message is, you know, a very successful man in this age of his life, you know, who could do what he wants and whatever.
Yeah, but you see Brad Pitt, you see Breitling, you see Federer, you see Rolex, you see Omega, you see Nicole Kidman.
But I think, of course,
Tiger Woods, and you know, the stories are.
A part of it is, of course, visibility. But I think, for me, the way I see it is it's more aligning it with this is the type of product that a person like this would wear.
Yes.
You know, and aspiration is a huge thing in this market, you know.
But to answer your question, there's a funny anecdote. My former boss one day said in public, he said the best celebrity is a dead celebrity because he cannot screw it, right? So he cannot, you know, sleep with whatever and blah, 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 or take drugs. But, I mean, the reality is these are also humans, but trust me, we have these kind of contracts. As soon as they do make a mistake, boom, we are out. And so you know how you deal, how to deal with these people. And there have been a couple of problems, but not so many. And I think it's much more important that these people really understand the brand, want the brand, understand the brand, wear the brand, and not that they are in the ad. And then on social media, everybody's making fun because they wear another watch, which happens to a couple of brands out there.
Absolutely.
Not Breitling.
Bound to happen.
Actually, they were wearing us.
Thank you all very much.